信じられない。まるで怪物だ。アルバレスの復帰スピードにチーム関係者も驚愕。だが、希望ばかりではない。千賀滉大の故障問題、若手の躍進、そしてプレーオフ争いの現実。今のメッツに何が起きているのか徹底解説します。あなたの意見もコメントでぜひ聞かせてください。高評価とチャンネル登録もよろしくお願いします。
I'm Samantha Croston, and we are taking you through the news of the week. We start with Francisco Alvarez, who just 4 weeks after a meniscus tear, the Mets activated. For any of the doctors, health professionals, that's not normal, right? I mean, that's not normal.
No, it was a speedy recovery for our good friend Francisco. He was down here in Syracuse rehabbing a little bit. It was a fast return. I mean, that's what you can hope for if you're Mets fans, right? But you hope that he's fully healthy and it's not like a rush situation.
Alvarez will bat 9th in his return and assume the Mets starting catcher role. And Hayden Sanger was optioned to AAA Syracuse on Tuesday as well. Carlos Mendoza said, "It's hard to describe. It's unbelievable. 2 days after he had the surgery, I walked in the training room and he was holding a bat. He was practicing his stance. I was like, dude, what are you doing? It's been 48 hours. You already look normal." And he's like, "I'm going to be back soon." I mean, this guy is a dog, if nothing else. I understand he is in the position of catcher, but I feel like he is getting bruised and battered on a daily basis, and he stands back up.
Alvarez got sent back down to Syracuse midway through last year, for all those who may not remember, for poor performance. In essence, he was not injured. And he had enough. He saw Syracuse for a few weeks in summer last year. He saw that coming right down the pipeline this year. He said, ooh, I got to get back up to New York. Time's ticking.
Yeah, no, sincerely. Then Alvarez had said, "I don't have any pain." About the second or third day, I felt fine. The trainers deserve all the credit. Right when I had my surgery, they told me to get a bunch of recovery work in, and I think that was able to expedite the process. Expedite is the understatement of the century. I would like to know if anybody actually knows this information, how long that recovery process typically takes, and is there a range? Because this is just feeling remarkably fast. So I'm hoping that, like you mentioned, I guess the asterisk is he fully healthy? Let's make sure there are no repeat offenders here, repeat injuries. But if he's good to go, I mean, that's a much-needed boost for a Mets team that is trying to claw their way back into things right now.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think, like, the start to the season Alvarez had, you want more from him. Again, I don't think it was anything to write home about. I think that, like, even some fans were, you know, when he got hurt, okay, it's not the worst idea to see Luis Torrens for a little bit. But Torrens, I think, just time and time again, isn't that Torrens is so streaky. Like, he'll have a clutch hit and everybody will get really excited about it. And obviously, you know what he brings to you defensively. I think I want to see better defense from Francisco Alvarez when he comes back, because I think that area has slipped a little bit for him. He's never been the defensive catcher that Luis Torrens is. He's never been like an automatic, you know, gunning down runners at second base, caught stealing guy. But he was a pitch framing guy. He was more sound defensively, I feel, you know, a year, 2 years ago than he is now. And I feel like he's let that slip a little bit. But for nothing else, I mean, when you just think about a team starting everyday catcher, these guys are comfortable pitching Alvarez. Like, that's the big thing I think you're getting back with getting him back in your lineup, especially some of the younger guys like Christian Scott, like Jonah Tong, who actually is back down in Syracuse, so just kidding. But this pitching staff is comfortable throwing to Alvarez. So that's nothing but a good thing that he's on his way back.
Speaking of injury prone, Kodai Senga just got scratched from a rehab start. Nerve irritation in his right arm. I'm going to be honest, it's injury after injury with this guy.
See you never again. I would put confident money on never seeing Kodai Senga pitch in a Mets uniform ever again.
Really?
He was up in Syracuse. He was, you know, I mean, he had a couple decent starts. He actually didn't when he was down here on rehab. It was all right. It went okay. But even I was at the one game and it was, you know, I mean, it's trouble with him. I think the minute Senga gets into trouble at any level, he kind of, you know, he's tough when there's runners on, pitching around the traffic. That's not his strong suit. I think he can get in his head about it. I think you even see body language stuff, like an emotional response to giving up a few hits in a row, giving up a few runs. And the injury stuff just continues to plague him. Now he's, I mean, even before that, he was up with AAA for the rehab stint. And then it was like 2 days ago, it was like Kodai Senga's rehab process has been transferred to AA Binghamton. How often do you see a guy go down? You know, it's It's really tough. There's one more year left on that deal. I don't know what the Mets are going to do with it, but it's giving, like Kodai saying a DFA is right around the corner.
He's having some problems. And I mean, it's not only him. You look at some of the problematic pitchers, right? Clay Holmes is out. Kodai Senga is struggling with these rehab assignments. David Peterson is in the bullpen. Jonah Tong is back in the minors. Who are you relying on? Well, this series, it should be Peralta, Scott, and McClain who are slated to start. That would be a good feeling here. And mind you, they are going up against a Cardinals team that is really quite good. Actually better than I knew about until I was researching today. But this is what you want, I would say, is a little bit of consistency here to see what this Mets team is able to do. Because again, they're not in it, whatever it is. I don't feel super hopeful yet. But I will say this, they are not on severe losing streaks anymore. At least they are streaky, and sometimes they win and sometimes they lose. So certainly that's better than the way the season began.
Well, let's talk about the West Coast. They were out on the West Coast for the last time this year. Thank God. It was their 5th time out there, 4th time out there. Like, more than they're done with the West Coast, which is honestly a nice thing to say the first week of June.
The scheduling was sickening, according to some people, including one guy in the booth.
Yes. They've all of a sudden won 7 of 10. Now, you can say, you know, there's been some lesser competition in there. Obviously, they took the series against the Padres in San Diego. Nice feeling. Not a great Padres team this year, and honestly, it should have been a series sweep if you want to get into the nitty-gritty. I think that's the tough part, right? Like, if you are the Mets, I'm seeing, like, the fans, the chatters starting again on Twitter. It's like, oh, but the Mets are only 5 games out of the wild card. And it's like, the fans are always going to be hopeful. How outrageous is it to say that the New York Mets are only 5 games out of the wild card? You know what I mean? They're not a good team so far this season. They need every win they can get. And I think that's where you look at a series, even like San Diego, and it's like, that should have been a sweep. They should have won that middle game. Like, they're going to need to start stacking wins at some point.
I agree.
And we've yet to see that point, I think. But at least it was a little bit of a better feeling in San Diego. 3-3 road trip. And when you consider that Seattle and San Diego have been tough places to play for them, especially the last few years, I'll take a 3-3 West Coast trip. You know, I'll take a 500 break. But all of that was also with, first of all, Juan Soto has fallen asleep again. Not a good road trip for Soto. He was like 2 for 25. Carson Bench has hit the next we've hit the next stratosphere with Carson Bench. He was 5 for 5 on, I believe, Saturday. I was watching that game here at work. It was, solo home run, RBI triple, 3 others. Like, this guy has adjusted to major league pitching, and I'm pretty confident to say that at this point. I think that if you're a Mets fan and you've been watching Benj and Ewing, that's what's exciting. Benj was hitting 179 on May 2nd. A little over a month later, he's got the batting average up to 265. And I think you're seeing, when you're a Mets fan, like those flashes of hope. Like, you're seeing Benj go 5 for 5 at the plate. You're seeing Ewing make crazy diving catches in the outfield. That's what you're going to cling on to for the rest of this season. Howie Rose had a tweet that went triple platinum that I retweeted this weekend. That was like, I don't know where this Mets season is going, but I'm really happy that Benj and Ewing are going there with it, you know? And listen, it's too early in June to say throw in the towel. I just said they're 5 games out of the wild card. But if nothing else, those 2 young guys are developing.
Well, I agree with that. And AJ Ewing, a.k.a. The Freak, currently on a 5-game hitting streak. It's been play after play in center field. I mean, he's electric. They're both so fun to watch. They bring this youthful energy. I'll be honest, that's still not enough to convince me that this season is headed in the right direction. To me, it's almost like 2 separate things in my brain. I'm like, wow, these 2 players are great and they're going to be great for the Mets, but I want the Mets collectively to be great. And unfortunately, it is a team sport, so we are going to need some more from some different people. This is an interesting team because there are some young guns, but there are also some vets, and there's kind of this strange, interesting mix. I'm not really sure yet if it works or not, but you need Bench to have a good day and Ewing to have a good day, but you also need Soto to have a good day. Like, that's how you stack wins, is when most of your players are having good games consistently. The consistency has just been off this year. I think that the last time that we sat down here and we were talking about the West Coast trip, we said that 4-2 would be impressive and 2-4 would be disappointing. So 3-3, it is what it is. It feels pretty Metsy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, okay, just enough to continue to cling on to that one shred of hope that I was going to let go of if they did go 2-4. But still, it's not enough to feel 100% excited. I love what you said, though, about just being 5 games out of the wild card. That I actually will cling on to is just simply the fact that the playoffs have expanded. It is easier to get in now, and 80-something win teams do get in and make the postseason. I'll cling to that.
Well, that's what it is, right? Like with the way that baseball is structured right now, I mean, listen, it would be great to be the Milwaukee Brewers right now and to be like 41-23 and 20 games over 500 and in first place. That would be the ideal world. But if I can't have the ideal world, I mean, there's 3 wild cards. We saw teams at the end of last year sneak their way in, right? And get hot in August, September, get hot at the right time. Now, I don't know if this Mets team has any of that in them, and that's not the point. But I think that they haven't let go of that either. Carlos Mendoza, SNY, knew exactly what they were doing in posting this particular clip. In response to being done with the West Coast road trip after Sunday's game, Carlos Mendoza said, quote, "We're done for the regular season," which implies that he's intending to go play in the playoffs out there. You know what, Carlos? I appreciate the optimism, but
That's a
hope is
bar.
not a strategy, really.
That is a bar, though. Listen, he tried something. I appreciate that. I'm sure that it's funny because in other spaces and in other cities, people would have been really excited that he said that. In New York, sadly, most of the comments to that will be negative, but I do appreciate the fact that he tried it anyway. And like you said, listen, it's a long season. I am not ready to proclaim whether or not the Mets are going to be in the postseason or not. I will say this, if it can't be the Mets and the Mets tank the rest of the year, I actually hope it's the Brewers. My Brewers are your Seattle. I am in on the Brewers. I like their entire vibe. I like the fact that they're a small market team. And I feel like they really have been on the brink of greatness a couple times here, and then they continuously fall short. I'm rooting for them. Secretly.
You know who Pat Murphy, we've said on this podcast a million times, Syracuse native.
That's
you know
him.
who he's not a big fan of right now? It made like headlines. And even I think SNY picked it up because he was obviously here for a while.
Let's hear it.
Brandon Sproat is just not doing so well in the good city of Milwaukee. He had like a clunker of a start the other day, and Pat Murphy to the media was like, we're not gonna let more of those starts happen. Like we're gonna see something different from Brandon. He like really laid down the law. And I don't even know where I fall in that, because of course, a section of Mets Twitter was like, and when do you ever see Carlos Mendoza hold the players accountable? And like they were saying they liked it from Murphy. And like part of me feels that way, to be honest. Like part of me does appreciate the holding your players accountable. But the flip side of that coin, I think, is like, this is like a 24-year-old guy. He's still somewhat of a prospect. I mean, a guy who was a trade chip for you that you got in the whole trade for Peralta. Like, to flame your young guy who's trying to figure it out like that in front of a whole lot of media, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, do we think that helps his confidence? Probably not.
It's a tough one. That's a tough one. To be honest, I think it probably depends on the athlete. I think there are some athletes who would hear that and feel really motivated and inspired, because so many of these guys have had that dream since they were kids. They don't want to let it go or let it slip. Some people step up to the plate. Some people step up to, even the feeling of pressure. But I agree with you. He's pretty young. I would say if you are as a, whatever it is, head coach or across all sports, I'm saying, if you are going to blame anyone other than yourself, I think you really need to pick and choose your moments. If you are going to blame a player, if you are going to blame a ref or an official, those times have to be coming pretty infrequently for, I think, everybody to really buy in. Just as an example, Mike Brown obviously trashing the officials after last night's NBA Finals game. I know that people had mixed feelings about that. I didn't hate it as much as I think the average person, just because he even went out of his way to be like, I think the Spurs are a great team. They won because they play better than us, and it is very rare that you hear me complain about the officials. Because of that, I don't necessarily mind that he threw it in there, and I think he did it just hoping that possibly somebody will see it and it could lead to some kind of a change. I'm okay with it. So back to the point here, I'm all right with it, but I wouldn't want to see that all the time. I typically would want to see the leader of a team blaming themselves.
Yeah. No, and I think it's okay to be like, listen, we need more from him. We want him to perform. But I think I forget the exact quote from Murphy, but it was I don't
rough.
think it was tough. It was rough.
It was a roughie. Yeah. All right, that's all right. Bo Bichette has been heating up recently, and I think that is a topic worth discussing. against the Padres in San Diego, he went 5 for 13 with 2 doubles. He's hitting .293, .341, .480 with 3 homers in 19 games since May 18th. So I think that, listen, he had a definite rough start, really uncharacteristic. I wasn't surprised at all because I know this happens when players come to the Mets and they have an adjusting period. But I'm glad to see that in some way he's sort of back to form here.
Yeah, I think Bichette's a big piece of this lineup, right? All of a sudden, if Bichette gets going, you have Bichette in the middle there with Soto. You have Benj and Ewing, who are young guys figuring it out, but always a threat to get on base, always a threat to, contact hitters. I think you can start to see it a little more. You can start to see the vision of the lineup that could get hot down the stretch, that could all gel at the right time. Bichette's a big part of that. Bichette was an empty, cavernous hole for the first 2 months of the season.
Cavernous.
Not to even
Great
mention
word.
You got Francisco Lindor coming back shortly, So you can see that if all the pieces are put together, the young guys have had a few months up here now. They're not fresh off the bus from Syracuse. Like, they've adjusted to major league pitching. They're doing better. You can, I think, see it. But again, it's too early for me to say that I feel confident in saying that we'll see it. I could see it. Maybe. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
Could see it, maybe.
It all depends. And then you get to the pitching, right? And that's just, I think, the thing, too. You got the bulk mix, who honestly hasn't been bad. Like, Brazoban's been pitching a little better as of late. But it's just, I think that's going to be the big question if we get closer to the trade deadline and David Stearns is kind of like, do we buy? Do we sell? Say we're 3 games out of a wild card at that point. How much do we go all in, or do we not have the ingredients here to have a successful season? I think, yes, there's so many questions with the hitting and the consistency every night, and will they score more than 2 runs? But you just got to figure some things out with that pitching staff. You got a lot of options, but none of them are solidified. Manaea has been pitching actually better as of late, but is he an opener? Is he a bullpen guy? What is Sean Manaea doing? David Peterson's back in the bullpen now. Tong's down in Syracuse. Christian Scott's been throwing a little better. But everybody is like, you got to take their temperature every day. Like, you actually don't know how they feel that day or if they're healthy and feeling good until you stick the thermometer in their mouth. You know what I mean?
Bulk mix, trail mix, checks mix. What's going on here?
Right.
I mean, the best part about a mix is that it all goes well together. And that's true of checks mix, trail mix, or a bulk mix. I'm going to need to see everybody in the mix doing something really enticing to feel good about whatever that term may mean. But I do understand what they're trying to do here. And I'll tell you this, I do think that whatever David Stearns decides to do at the trade deadline, number one, let's be honest in saying that it is going to be a tough decision, especially if the Mets continue to perform well and have those 7 out of 10 stretches. And B, no matter what he decides, there are going to be a lot of Mets fans that hate what he does.
Of course.
So there's going to be a lot of pressure on him, especially with the factors that are in play right now.
And here's the other thing. It was like the Mets were about to drown. Like, they were about to fully go underwater. Now I'd say we barely got our eyeballs above the water. Like, we haven't drowned yet. We're treading, barely. But that's been against lesser competition. I know all the travel, the West Coast trips. Baby, the Cardinals are coming to town tonight, okay? And then the Atlanta Braves, who are the best team in baseball. I'm going to need to see some wins and some competitive games against some of these better teams because, frankly, the Mets, due to that schedule that was so, NL West heavy, so travel heavy, they haven't faced the NL East a whole ton yet, and it is June, and that's where you need to answer some questions within your own division, I think.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Anything else that you want to say on this Mets team before we wrap it up and get out of here?
No, we'll see what happens this week. Obviously, fingers crossed with them coming back home to Citi Field for a homestand. I will say nobody in New York cares about them because it's Knicks season right now. I am going to be, I guess we'll just give the disclaimer.
Speaking of West Coast trips.
I am also going on a West Coast trip. I will not be here for a couple weeks. It's vacation season in local sports reporting. So they might be some guests, might be some, new characters, but I will be
old friends
out of commission. Don't worry. I will be back. Some old friends. And don't worry because So, like many baseball fans, I have a dream and a vision to one day go to all 30 ballparks. And I was like, going to some new cities. We'll see what's happening. The San Francisco Giants are away. And I can't, that's the problem. I'm not going to give everybody my entire trip itinerary, but the Giants are away, they're not home, and then I'm going to Vegas. And I can't count the A's right now in Vegas because that's not. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not a permanent. They're playing in like a minor league ballpark. What am I supposed to do with that, for instance?
Right.
So we're gonna go over on the baseball teams, which is tough. But I'm like halfway there, you know.
I thought you were just about to say like the Dodgers are home and you needed to go watch.
No, so I'm not swinging all the way down to Southern California. So that's why we won't be hitting any of those teams. But it's tough when you plan a vacation. I'm sure people have been in this, and all the baseball teams are just not there.
Brutal. Well,
ここまで見てくれたあなた、本当にありがとう。この動画が少しでも面白かったら、コメントで意見を聞かせてください。そして高評価、シェア、チャンネル登録も忘れずに、次の動画でまた一緒に野球の熱狂を味わいましょう。